Only 169 days left, and all I have to say is, are you ready to bust? Ghostbusters Afterlife is creeping up on us closer and closer. It's been a little quiet on the Ghostbusters news as of late, but we just got some more details about this Ghostbusters Afterlife movie. I'm still very much looking forward to this thing. I'm going to be breaking down some things Finn Wolfhard said about the project. Also, we have Bill Murray himself talking about this movie, so it's undeniable now. The man is in it. That and so much more, guys, so be sure you're leaving a like down below if you're still excited for Ghostbusters Afterlife, and comment what you think of all these new details. Alright, so the first thing I want to start off with is some of the comments Finn Wolfhard made about Ghostbusters Afterlife. He was recently doing a podcast with Kevin Smith in promotion for his new horror movie, The Turning, and Finn Wolfhard was able to share some details about the project that I am really looking forward to. One thing he said is, there's a lot of practical effects, and a lot of the effects you think would be CGI are not, which I was so happy to be a part of. Thank you, Jason Reitman, for giving us a Ghostbusters movie with mainly practical effects. Now, of course, we live in a time now where a lot of things can be done through CGI, and heck, even the technology is progressing so much where you don't even notice CGI is being used in some scenes. Still though, I think some of the charm of the old Ghostbuster movie was those practical effects and the way they managed to get around some of the setups. Even the ghosts themselves, how were they created? They are practical effects props masked over with some CGI effects to make them look transparent, have them move around. And I've said this countless of times, but I will repeat it, the movie that shall not be named, The Female Ghostbusters, one of the things that irked me so much when watching this movie was the choice in their effects for that film. I just cannot get over how the ghosts look so bland, generic, Disney-fied, like they belong in the movie The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy. I'm one of those rare people who didn't completely mind The Female Ghostbusters. I thought the film was fine, but I was very disappointed with their choice of effects in the film. It just did not feel Ghostbuster-ish. It just felt like something trying to be Ghostbusters with the effects not matching the previous ones at all. But having Finn Wolfhard say that there will be practical effects done just adds an authenticity to this movie. And I just always have such respect for movies that decide to use practical effects when it's way easier for them just to use CGI. Even looking at that new slime ghost that they have in that trailer, that does look like it's practical in the same way they did it with the old Slimer, where that most likely is a realistic prop masked with some CGI to make it look transparent, to have it move around. Still wondering if this thing is actually Slimer or in the same Slimer category, maybe Slimer's cousin. We're still debating that online as Ghostbuster fans, but either way, practical effects in this new Ghostbusters movie, you gotta leave a like down below for that. Another thing that Finn Wolfhard went ahead and said about the actual movie is when we saw the trailer, we basically saw nothing of the film. He said exactly, "You have not seen the big stuff yet." And that's him, of course, referencing the first trailer. He says all that we've seen is very surface level. Oh god, yes. Okay, because that trailer, it turned a lot of us Ghostbuster fans around. The ones who were doubting this movie, it's like, no, they already ruined Ghostbusters. It can't be good anymore. And we saw that trailer and it's like, it can be good. And I'm ready to bust. Even I had my hype level for this movie to 1,000,000, and when I saw that trailer, it exceeded that expectation. The atmosphere of it, the tone so serious and dark, I just knew watching this film it was gonna make me so emotional. And the fact that Finn Wolfhard says that you have not seen anything yet from these trailers puts me real at ease, because a lot of us could have thought that maybe that scene with McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard riding off in the Ecto-1 trying to blast off that new Slimer ghost, heck, that could have been their big action scene, and that would have disappointed us in a world where we had Stay Puft running through the streets of New York or the Statue of Liberty. It would have been a bit of a downgrade, but I'm sure they would have made it work in the movie. The fact now that that probably happens in the beginning of the film, and that's just them testing out the equipment and what they're able to do with it, that lets me know there's so much more to this movie that we aren't even aware of. Because don't forget, Jason Reitman also mentioned that this thing is supposed to scare children. It's supposed to have a scary element to it. There's a few leaks that I reported back in the day that these other ghosts showing up like a roller skating granny. I can't wait to see that character on screen. Also, pair that up with Finn Wolfhard's comments on practical effects in this movie. We're finally gonna get ghosts that look like the librarian from the first Ghostbuster movie. Heck yeah. But jumping from that, especially with Finn Wolfhard saying we haven't seen the big stuff yet, they just posted today an article with Vanity Fair talking to Bill Murray, who was on the set of Ghostbusters Afterlife. There is no way to deny it anymore. We've had tons of confirmations. It's set in stone. And now with this article of a journalist who was on set for Ghostbusters Afterlife and did an interview with Bill Murray and even has a funny story to go along with it, just the confirmation that Venkman is in Ghostbusters. What more could you ask for? Now, this article is a bit long. I'm going to summarize the best parts of it, but if you have time in your day, I recommend you reading this because there is a funny, detailed story of Bill Murray and this journalist on set, and only a way Bill Murray can make your day. One thing out of this article, though, that I love to hear from Bill Murray himself is he actually talks about the script and the story for this movie and his complete approval, and is actually the only reason he decided to jump on board for this film, because a lot of you might know Bill Murray, he's a bit of a stickler when it comes to sequels and returning from movies that he's not all that excited about. Heck, it was one of the reasons for the longest time we didn't get an actual Ghostbusters 3 with the original cast coming back and doing their Ghostbusting. But with this one, he went ahead and said, the script is good. It's got lots of emotion in it. It's got lots of family in it with thorough lines that are really interesting. It's gonna work. I mean, what more confirmation do you need? I don't remember Bill Murray giving such high praise for the female Ghostbuster movie, but I think after the backlash to that movie, Bill Murray's probably aware that he needs to pick it more carefully for the fans. And the fact that he actually got to read the entire script saying it's good, it's emotional, it's about family, and it's gonna work. My Ghostbuster host for this film is just rising and rising at this point. So Bill Murray, don't you lie to us. But my favorite thing to come out of this article is that they are definitely teasing a big final battle in this Ghostbuster movie. And I think this is the stuff Finn Wolfhard was talking about, where you haven't seen the big stuff yet. Because this article with the journalist basically teases that Bill Murray is going to be putting on the proton pack one more time for an epic showdown. The journalist tries to be very careful about what he can say in this article and who is actually in the room with him while this scene was being filmed, because it was in a soundstage behind closed doors. And the funny story I was telling you about that had to do with this journalist and Bill Murray was that Bill Murray actually told the journalist, go grab a proton pack and put it on. The article goes into more detail about how Bill Murray basically wanted to bully this journalist into putting on a proton pack so he knows why it's so frustrating for him to come back to these Ghostbusters movies, because you have to put on a proton pack that weighs about 30 pounds. And if you know what it's like to make movies, you basically stand around in one spot for several hours while they try to get the perfect shot of a scene over and over again. And now that Bill Murray's pushing his age, whoa, wearing a proton pack like that is not fun for the Burmer. But that funny story aside, everyone's not realizing Bill Murray in the final scenes of this movie is putting on a proton pack and is gonna be helping our heroes. A lot of us were really afraid that this movie was just going to be too kid-centric, that it wasn't going to be believable. Even people have the memes where Egon once said the proton pack's not a toy, and then cut to several years later, we have kids using it as a toy playing around. It seems a little disrespectful, but I'm sure they're going to make it work in the movie, and if the climax was just these kids taking down Gozer and his demons, and even Stay Puft Marshmallow if he happens to return, which I'm hoping for, I just don't think it would be as satisfying. I would rather see these kids attempt and then horribly fail, and then when all hope is lost, cutscene to Bill Murray riding in the other Ecto-1 that everyone's asking where it's at, the Ecto-1A, having a proton pack on, having Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson in the back seat, and showing them what it's like to really bust ghosts. I don't see why else the journalist would say specifically in the scenes where Bill Murray's putting on a proton pack, he can't tell you who's in the scene or what's going on, because it's spoilery. It's obviously the big final battle, and just picturing Bill Murray wearing a proton pack again is so much. I do wonder though if he's gonna put on the actual jumpsuit, or it'll just be a case of maybe Bill Murray wearing regular clothes, and because time is of the essence, he just puts on the proton pack over some clothes, or he'll actually go to the barn house where all the suits are, put the actual suits on, if they even still fit, and then go and help out. Honestly, the only sad thing about this article is that the journalist confirms for sure that Rick Moranis is not going to be returning at all for this new installment. I'm still hopeful for Mr. Tully to go ahead and show up in this movie just because I loved his character so much in the Ghostbusters franchise, but it makes sense. Rick Moranis is not really wanting to return to Hollywood even though his family's all raised now. And he even once said in an article that he'd be willing to come back to Hollywood for the right project, but I guess a cameo in a new Ghostbusters movie is not the right project for him. Still, maybe he could show up. Maybe. Or heck, even a bus ad or a television ad for Tully Accounting. that would make me happy. Either way, I'm super excited for this movie. I need to hear your Ghostbuster opinions on this. And how do you like the comments of them using practical effects, Bill Murray approving of the script, anything and everything? You guys go ahead and leave me your thoughts down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.